Right, we continue now. The Passage is a 12-minute social drama which delves deep into the heart of township life, tackling issues of gender-based violence, toxic masculinity, and the choices that govern young men growing up in environments fraught with danger and complexity. Filmmaker and producer Ntokozo Mlaba is set to ignite conversations with his latest cinematic offering and joins us here in studio to share more on that short film, as well as actor Jaden Mmokwa. Well, good morning to the both of you, and thank you for your time at this hour.
Thank you so much for having us.
Delving into those themes using a 12-minute format, talk to us about the significance, the impact, and the importance for you at large.
So the short film sits as a three-part trilogy of films that I'm making on my take of the issues that plague the townships. Really, this one sits as a call to action around gender-based violence and femicide, you know, because it really looks at how all men are susceptible to being perpetrators of rape because of patriarchy and the perpetuation thereof, you know. So yeah, that's really why also we're coming out and we're starting to now market and bring the film to life and sharing it with people, because now that we're moving into the 16 days of activism, we found that it's an apt time to start having these conversations. But we're looking to have the conversations beyond this moment so that we can have dialogue around young boys, young people, around how patriarchy really impacts them, you know? So yeah, that's why it was important for us to tell the story.
Absolutely. Jaden, I'm going to bring you to the conversation rather shortly. I just wanted to continue on the theme of GBVF, looking at the social ills within townships. What was the different spin explored through your vantage point, given, as you mentioned, that we have seen this, you know, play out and it comes to the fore every year during that period of 16 days of activism against, you know, women and child abuse?
So that's another thing, right? A very important thing for us was to ensure that we don't only look at the 16 days, but how do we also look at a distribution strategy beyond this moment, and not simply for the popularity of the film, but for the importance of the conversation, right? And so that's why we've kind of engaged with a number of gender-based violence organizations so that we can onboard them in our distribution strategy so that they can also share it wherever they go, you know? So it's really just a plan to ensure that we involve society in engaging in making society a better place. So I think that's really what we wanted to do. And from the film really looks at the male gaze and looks at how patriarchy affects or contributes to the scourge of gender-based violence. Because a lot of the times we see gender-based violence from a victim's point of view, you know? Yeah. And what we tried to do with this piece was look at it from how patriarchy and from a male gaze, toxic masculinity affects how these numbers are coming about, you know. And so what we also did is also kind of use the backdrop of the township to also look at the picture holistically, and how people, young men, also impacted by their environment to become the people that they are. And so how do we actually affect change? We have to have a full holistic conversation and not just look at the consequences thereof, but also look at how also we get to the consequences, you know?
The root causes.
Yeah, the root causes of the consequence. So that's really what we wanted to do. But we just want to engage in conversation, really. This film is about having conversations, engaging in dialogue with people about how they feel about these things, you know? I think it's also very interesting that, like, you can't really translate patriarchy in Zulu, you know? So that's really one thing that we want to be able to engage with young people and have these conversations around what patriarchy means, what toxic masculinity means, you know, and what this bro code really looks like on the ground, you know. So and that's really the thing that we try to achieve with this film. It's really just a microcosm of what happens on every street corner in the township, and that's what we wanted to present.
The root cause, looking at those social political constructs. Jaden, I want to then bring you in the conversation. Talk to us about embodying your character's role and also the process that you had to undergo.
So with me, it was a thing of like knowing that I'm only raised by parents and only having sisters. Embodying this role was different because it means like I was never really always home. I was always with friends outside. So we would father each other on how to live and how to behave. So there's certain things you can't do or say because you're in this bro code. So for me, embodying it was more of like reliving moments and seeing the toxic things that I've done or have contributed to other people's lives.
If you're going to look at learning, unlearning, relearning again, what's an example of such for you?
I think not having group mentalities and having like individual mindsets, right? And also calling each other out when you're doing things wrong, right? Because we're in a society where it's like, if we're in a group of friends, we all like the same thing. So no one has an actual own mindset of like, this is what I like, but it's more of like, this is what we like, right? So I think for now, like what I would try to improve or fix better is like communication with the gents about like, this is wrong, this is right, and how do we come forth with such things?
Ntokozo, how easy was it to condense these complex themes into 12 minutes? What was also evoked?
It was extremely tough, and we kind of engaged in research for a very long process. And I engaged with a lot of feminist organizations and my feminist friends to kind of look at the script and see if it's appropriate, because you must also take into consideration the male gaze, right?
Yeah.
But I think for me, as much as I was very fearful of the subject matter, I also understood the importance and the responsibility that I had to tell the story, because I think it's important that we reflect society, you know. And yeah, man, the statistics keep on rising, and I think until we all engage in ensuring that we curb the scourge of gender-based violence in South Africa, I think it's going to keep on being a problem within our society. And as much as it doesn't affect us in the first person, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be outraged by it, you know. History will be retold, and we must be able to say on which side we stood in terms of justice. So I think it's really just ensuring that we're on the right side of history, really. So that's really how we came about with the film, and ensuring that we package as much as we can in the 12 minutes, because you don't want to go too much because of distribution purposes. But also, what it also enable us to do is that maybe in a few years or maybe next year we can engage with schools to say, okay, take it into your allo programs, you know, because a heavy reference was Yizo. And we know what Yizo did for our country, you know, so that's how we kind of pitched it. So that's what we're trying to do, to have drama and shows that, and a film that speaks to the society and speaks to the real zeitgeist of what the country is going through, you know.
Yes.
So that's really what we wanted to achieve.
And it's also important to be at the fore of telling our stories, not having them being imposed on us, and perhaps also to restore agency at large. Jaden, on the back of what Ntokozo just echoed, what do you want people to walk away with?
I think for me, most importantly, it was more of like, how do you contribute to toxic things in the society, and how do we start like a conversation of saying, like I said, calling each other out. And I like the reference when we came up with the film of Yizo, because it really had a huge impact on what is story and what is happening in the townships. So with us, it was like, these are the things that are still happening, and how further can we start the conversation or bring it forth to light. So it was really a good time to make this film, and the energies was really great. So I can really say that it's a great time to now tackle like social issues in film or in books or whatever medium that you are into right now. I think the best thing you can do for yourself is tell a truthful story, and that's what we tried to do.
Where are you showcasing? If people want to also keep the conversation going, interact with you, how are you ensuring that it unfolds as well?
So we are, obviously, what also is a big challenge is that it's an independent film. So it's not sitting on a traditional medium like your SABC or something. But our plan is, like I said, we're packaging it as a trilogy of short films. So the first one has already been shot. This is the second one. And our next one is going to deal with alcoholism. And so what we're trying to do is ensure that we're able to package it so that it can sit on a traditional media. But for the time being, what people can do is that they can follow us, follow me at Ntokozo Mlaba, and follow The Passage short film on Instagram to kind of keep up to date with what we're trying to do and the program that we're going to run, because we're going to release it during 16 days of activism and post that. But I think if you also are looking to support, because filmmaking is quite a tough endeavor, but there's support that we've been receiving from different corporations and different funding bodies. So that's been really, that's alleviated the burden a great deal. But we're also looking now to engage in distribution strategies with schools, with gender-based violence organizations, with corporations who are really invested in ensuring that we do contribute to curbing the scourge of gender-based violence in society.
Thank you to the both of you for joining us at this hour. Going to leave that conversation there, but it continues. Of course, we're just in conversation with filmmaker and producer Ntokozo Mlaba, as well as actor Jaden Mmokwa Oratile Mosadi on their new film. It's called The Passage. It's a 12-minute social drama.